Good morning, Rabotai. Yesterday, Chav Zayin Adar was the 100th Yahrziet of Hagaon Rav Shlomo Elyashiv, the Leshem Shevo ve'Achlama. Who was Rav Shlomo Elyashiv, this great tzaddik? He was born in Europe in 1826 in Chav Zayin Adar, and he grew up in the city of Tels in Lithuania. He was known then as the Telzer Ilui. And when he was younger, in other words, he was already known as a prodigy. The Rav of the city of Tels, his name was Rav Yosef Reisinen, took him and started teaching Kabbalah, started learning Kabbalah with him. He started developing more and more in Kabbalah, learning the Sfarim of all of the great Mekubalim. And in fact, Rav Kook took off time of where he was a Rav in Europe, in the city of Zomel, I believe, and he went for a month to learn Kabbalah by Rabbi Elyashiv. Rabbi Elyashiv eventually in 1921 moved to Eretz Yisrael with the intervention of Rav Kook. So Rav Kook helped him move to Eretz Yisrael. It was Rav Shlomo Elyashiv, his son-in-law, and his son-in-law and his daughter, and his grandson. Who was his grandson? 11-year-old at the time, the famous Rav Yosef Shalom Elyashiv. That was his grandson, who they adopted the name of the mother for whatever purposes that they had over there in immigration. But it's known that Rav Kook, as a matter, was very close to the Elyashivs, to a point that Rav Kook was the one who married off Rav Elyashiv. He was the Mesader Kiddushin. Also, one time, the Rav Shlomo Elyashiv came to Rav Kook for a question. It was freezing cold in Yerusha. It was freezing cold at Rav Elyashiv, and Rav Kook saw this, gave him his own coat, and they still have the coat in the Elyashiv family till today. This was the famous Rav Shlomo Elyashiv. He taught Kabbalah in his Sfarim. He had a few Sfarim. The most famous is Hagdamot U'Sha'arim Leshem Shevo ve'Achlama. Why is it called the Leshem Shevo ve'Achlama? It's the stones, but there's a deeper meaning to it. Rav Natan Kamenetsky, in one of his books, writes that what happened was that there was one of the greatest Jewish Ba'alei Tzedakah of all time. It's called Rav Ovadia Lachman from Berlin. He was a great inventor. He invented actually the different wings that there are on ships that help the ships not sink. Rav Ovadia Lachman did a lot of other inventions, and he was very, very rich, and he would support not only the Musar movement, because he was close at the time to Rav Yisrael Salanter, but he also supported a lot of other initiatives such as the yeshivot of Volozhin, of Slobodka, of Tels, all of the great yeshivot. One of the yeshivot, as a matter of fact, Volozhin closed in 1892, so he helped fund the Kovno Kolel, the Kolel in Kovno, that really helped continue that legacy of Volozhin that had to close down because of the whole secular study controversy that went on, and he was able to continue. So either way, this Rav Lachman apparently was the secret funder behind the Sfarim of Rabbi Elyashiv, and that's why it's called Leshem. Thank you for Rabbi Elyashiv. Leshem Shevo ve'Achlama. Achlama, if you change around the letters, it's Lachman. It's got Lachman in it, and therefore that was the reason behind the Sfarim. Either way, he was niftar young. It's apparently the Chafetz Chaim said that Rav Elyashiv was the last of the great Mekubalim, and we see also that he's buried in Har HaZitim. And many Talmidei Chachamim till today study his Sfarim diligently. Just one point is that he explains in the Sha'ari, in the Hagdamot of the Sha'arim Perek Zayin, that the purpose of creation is that a person should take the Midat Hadin that there is in the world and sweeten it to Midat HaRachamim. Now, if that's the case, that's why Ba'alei Teshuvah could be so great, because whatever Midat HaDin that they had, they sweetened it to Midat HaRachamim. It's not just a free gift that Hashem gives. But if that's the case, so why doesn't a person say, okay, I'll do Avirot, that way I'll be able to sweeten the Din? That's a legitimate question. So he brings that obviously the kavanah, the intention of Hashem was that a person should dafka keep the mitzvot and not go through that route. The ideal is to only keep the mitzvot. If, unfortunately, there's going to be averot, there's no help with that, then the judgment has to be sweetened. And he brings from the Sefer HaChinuch, and the Haggah over there, he brings from the Sefer HaChinuch. Sefer HaChinuch says that there's a concept called En onshin ela mazhirin. In every single avera in the Torah, you have to have a warning first, an azhara and an onesh. So the Sefer HaChinuch explains, why do you need to have an azhara? It's enough to have, why do you have to have a warning? It's enough to say the punishment. So it explains, because you would have thought that maybe if there's an onesh, only a punishment, so you say, okay, you know what? I'm willing to take the punishment. I'm willing to take the punishment, and then I'll pay the consequences. And that there's also a warning. No, don't do it in the first place. Don't say that I'm going to do the punishment in order to do the mitzvah, and that in order to do the avera. And that's what the Leshem says. It's the same concept. That why would a person think that he should do an onesh? So in other words, he can sweeten the judgment. And that he's saying that's not the kavanah Torah. The kavanah Torah is to be only to do the ratzon of Hashem. So we're within the 3 days of the ptira of the 100th year of the tzaddik, right? They say the 3 days of the neshama is still has some presence. So yehi ratzon that the zchut of the leshem should be shomer on us, and all of Klal Yisrael. Amen. Yehi ratzon.